Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Camila and this is Hasty Books. Today I'm bringing you my June wrap-up and I'm hoping it'll be a quicker video. I always say that, but this time I didn't read that many books, so I'm hoping it will be short and sweet. I've reviewed a few of them already in the context of the Women's Prize for Fiction. I guess when I reviewed the shortlist and tried to predict the winner. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that video, I was not correct. So I am pleased that June was a beautiful month. I'm doing a recap, but it's worth, mentioning that we were on holiday for most of June. I took the reading very relaxed. I tried to enjoy kind of the day-to-day stuff that we were doing, when you're on holiday. And had an active holiday, so it wasn't just sitting in a cottage with like we've done before and I could like read a book a day. It was a lot more like we're out and about and doing stuff, and it was so cool. You can actually go and view my book haul video in which I take you on a little walk through Hay-on-Wye, Wales booktown, and Sedberg, England's booktown, and talk to you about some of the books that I bought on that trip. So that'll be a taster of our holiday. And I read quite an array of books in June. I read some ebooks, some audiobooks, not as many as usual. I feel like when we're traveling, I listen to less audiobooks. And I read some hard paper books as well. So yeah, a good mix for different things. Like I read some arcs, I read for the Women's Prize for Fiction. I tried to finish books that I started, before. So quite pleased. I also read a friend's manuscript. So she sent it, well, I read her first chapter last year and I was quite intrigued, and then she asked me if I wanted to read the whole thing. She asked a few people. So I read the whole thing in June and it was so good. I won't be talking about that book, obviously, because I can't review it and I can't tell you any more details, but that's one of the books that I read and that I focused my time on to give her like some constructive feedback. And except for that book, I read 6 other books in June, so total of 7 books. So that's really decent. I'm really pleased with that. And I think generally, like the last few months, I've been working on being less obsessive with reading and also with doing my videos. So I'm enjoying it more because I'm doing less of it, which is very positive. So anyway, without further ado, I've ranted for long enough. Let's dive into some reviews. So there's 3 reviews I won't be doing in depth. Those are the 3 books that I reviewed for the Women's Prize for Fiction. So that is Soren Bliss by Meg Mason, which I really, really liked. It kind of surprised me how much I loved it and how well it turned kind of the story on its head a little bit, and like, well, at the beginning and even at the end, so very good. It also includes The Bread the Devil Knead by Allen-Agostini, which I liked. I thought it was such an interesting book and I was quite taken with it. I still think it was missing a little flesh for me. And the last one is The Sentence by Louise Erdrich, and that one I listened to the audiobook in a bit of a rush, I have to say. I may give it another try, but to me it was good, but it was also, it kind of lacked direction a little bit at times for me. I was with the characters and it was a very interesting context historically as well, obviously based during COVID and Black Lives Matter's like huge protests, in 2020. So yeah, very interesting, but plot-wise maybe something was missing for me. But anyway, those 3 books, I just summarized really quickly what I thought. So we'll focus on the other 3. The first book that I finished in June was Jacob's Room by Virginia Woolf. So I've been trying to read Virginia Woolf this year. This was actually only my 3rd Virginia Woolf, so I read 3 in the first half of the year. I don't think I'll manage all the other ones in the second half of the year, but we'll see. I'll maybe hope for 3 as well, and then I can continue my journey, my Virginia Woolf journey in 2023 as well. But yeah. So Jacob's Room was an interesting kind of account of a man, or starts with a boy, becomes a man's life and journey and growing up and everything, especially through the perspective of other characters and especially women in his life. I like the first 2 books. I kind of failed a little bit to see where it was going. It really lacks plot, but I think it's kind of that's on purpose. and it very much is Jacob's Room a look or window into a character, almost like an exercise in writing and in observing a character. So interesting, but I don't know, up to now I'm not really enjoying reading Virginia Woolf. Like, some sentences are so well crafted, so the craft is really good, but like story wise I'm not enjoying it that much, I have to say. I think that Virginia Woolf is something that maybe I really enjoy doing as a book club. I'll carry on, and one day I feel like I'm gonna have to again, like, go back again to Virginia Woolf, and hopefully I'll have people to talk to about all of this, because honestly it feels like when it's just yourself, sometimes I don't really know what to think, and you know, if you have a conversation and you can feed from that. So yeah, so that was my thought about Jacob's Room. The second book that I read was Borges and Me by Parini. This is a kind of fictionalized non-fiction. So Parini, the author, when he was younger, to try to, I guess, not get drafted to go to Vietnam War, decided to do a PhD, really randomly wrote, it just like screams boomers, he just wrote to like a university in Scotland, and he was like, can I do a PhD on this? And they were like, sure, come. And he was like, okay. So he just like went, and it was really interesting because when I picked the book up, it was because I just found it cool. It was Borges, it was Scotland, and they do a road trip into the Highlands, and I thought it was really cool. Didn't realize that Parini went to St Andrews to do his PhD. I have no idea if he finished it, but the story is just a part of, you know, the first, I want to say first semester or first year that he's in St Andrews, and doing his PhD on a Scottish poet. And it was really cool actually, especially the first third. Like, he talks about St Andrews, and obviously being an alumni, it was just really beautiful to see it portrayed so well. And it's really interesting because I went to university there a good 40 years later, and it feels like it hadn't changed that much. So it was really cool to see that. So if you know, if you've been to St Andrews, as in you've walked through the town and you enjoyed it, or if you're an alumni, maybe you'll enjoy this book. And then from the third, he meets Borges, and he has no idea who he is, which was really interesting. And then they go off on this road trip through the Highlands, and it's written so smart. It's very, I want to say, proper prose. Some of the characters have a lot more banter that's not very relatable. It doesn't feel realistic. It's very like John Green, like witty, obviously not John Green, but a la John Green, like the witty banter that is really not realistic, but it's kind of cool to read or see in the movie. So this felt sometimes a bit like that. Some of the stuff as well, just because I just read a book on blindness in which they actually mentioned Borges. I thought some of the thoughts in it were a bit ableist about Borges being blind and disabled, and how, well, blind people can't do anything. And I thought, well, you know, that wasn't super. And obviously I don't know if that was just because in the 70s this guy thought that. I don't know if he still thinks that, or if it's just a note on his character. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that had actually really surprised me when I read it, because I just read the thing on, you know, educating on blindness. So it just kind of jumped at me. But except for that, I overall really enjoyed it. I feel like I learned about literature and about writing. Literally, there's a lesson about writing in this book, and I was just like, oh my goodness, yes, I'm going to be using that for my own writing. So that was really good. And also just, it's beautiful to kind of see the description of Scotland, of St Andrews, of the Highlands. Yeah, it was really, really lovely. Okay, I dropped my camera, so it may be slightly slightly different frame. I hope not. Let's see. Oh god. Okay, this is what you get by just filming on a random chair. Okay, and finally the last book I'm going to talk about, and it's the last book that I actually finished reading in June, was The Wednesday Morning Wild Swim by Julie Kaplan. This is apparently the second in a series. It's called Yorkshire Escape. I felt like this book stood on its own, so I don't know what the series really, if it's just a series of books based in Yorkshire, or if it's following some of the similar characters. But anyway, I thought it stood on its own, and that was a NetGalley arc as well for the audiobook. It seemed like a really kind of cozy story about, you know, some people who go wild swimming in Yorkshire, and I enjoy going wild swimming in Scotland, so I thought, why not, let's give it a try. And it was really quaint and cozy and lovely, and the main character is very bubbly. I got quite taken with her energy and her positivity, which was really lovely. So she basically gets a job working for this old estate that's going to be transformed into a hotel. Some of the stuff that happens is really not believable, and I know these cozy stories and romances are like this, but sometimes it's too much, and this one was sometimes a bit too much. Like, she's like, oh, we should do that, and like she's like, and then it's just and she's like, we should have this kind of prosecco event, and he's just like, the main guy who's in charge is just like, yes, I want more ideas, and I'm like, did you not have a plan beforehand for your business? But that said, like, I would actually go to like all of her activities and all of like the events that she was planning into that hotel and spa. Like, it was just really nice and positive, and all the characters were also really lovely, which I actually enjoy. I hate when there's like one character that's unbelievably mean. So I thought it was generally so lovely, and I feel like I'm repeating that word now. But yeah, it was really nice, sometimes like over the top cozy, but generally good. It has a nice wee romance. It doesn't drag on, which sometimes I was like, oh, they really went for it super quickly, so I'm just like, okay, there's not a lot left to be desired after that. But I love the relationship, and there's some, I guess, disability representation is in it as well, and it was, I don't know, uplifting is what I would say about this book. And that was it for my June reads. So it was like a lovely month. I'm quite glad. I've started July also very chill in my reading. I'm going on holiday for a few weeks of July and then early August, so I'm hoping I'll be, you know, be able to read a bit more and get my teeth stuck into some good books. But I will get back to you on that. As always, thank you so much for watching, and hey, see you back. Bye!